Welcome to In the Green Room. I'm Kinga.
And I'm Chet.
And this is Martin.
First, right off the bat, happy birthday. Today's a little bit of a birthday episode.
Thank you.
That's right.
I already forgot.
Happy birthday. I already forgot. That's
And
what happens when you get old.
And we're celebrating properly with some delicious wines. And we have Sam Pillsbury in the studio. Welcome to the studio.
Hi,
Yes.
thanks for having me, guys. I love making wine and I love talking about it, so I'm in a good place right
Well,
now.
we're excited to pick your brain about it a little bit. And Paul's here co-hosting and celebrating with us as well.
Thank you for having us. Here
Paul
we go.
Cassier, RV & Go. He's our sponsor today. He loves wine, so he was so thrilled when he heard Sam Pillsbury was going to be in studio. And he's like, I want to sponsor that show, and yay.
Let's do it.
Paul always has a glass of wine in his hand when I see him
Yeah,
out.
I would say that's the same for me.
His status quo
Yes.
when I see him out at a bar.
I don't know who usually has more wine. Probably Paul.
So, are you because you may be like Cersei Lannister from Game of Thrones?
So
No, I meant it in a good way.
I'm so thrilled, Sam Pillsbury. You're finally in studio. We are featuring you. We're super excited. You're a movie director. How many films did you direct in your lifetime?
I don't know. I never really counted. I probably made about 12 or 15 documentaries, and also in New Zealand, the only way to make money, you still can't make money out of documentaries, but in New Zealand in the 70s, you sure couldn't. So we also made commercials, and then I made, I think, about 32 movies or miniseries. I can't remember. It's quite funny because at one point I was being interviewed about 10 years ago on a radio show. I can't remember the guy's name. And he said, "Well, Sam, how many movies did you make?" And I said, "I don't know, about 30." And he said, he kind of mocked me, and he said, "Oh, about 30." And his assistant was in the corner going like this.
Yeah,
He said,
that's about right.
32, actually.
Nice.
That's quite remarkable. I'm so impressed. What was your first movie?
So you're only 10 short of the magic answer, 42. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, of course.
reference.
Of course. Sorry, I was thinking about my age. It's like
So what was your first and what was your favorite movie?
My first movie was a movie called The Scarecrow, which was based on a New Zealand novel, sort of a little bit in the vein of To Kill a Mockingbird. And my favorite movie is and that was my first film I wrote and directed, and it was the first New Zealand film to get into Cannes. My favorite movie is
That's
a movie.
a huge accomplishment.
It was pretty good.
Congrats.
For someone who didn't know what the hell he was doing.
We need to toast to that.
And my favorite movie is probably a movie called Starlight Hotel, which is a very gentle, very sweet movie about a man and a girl who are on the run. He's on the run from the law, and she's trying to get to where her dad is during the Depression in New Zealand. And it's a kind of a road movie, and it's about their relationship. It's a chaste love story, and it's very delicate.
Love it.
Never got big distribution. It was
Right.
too small, but got great reviews. The LA Times, I remember what the review was. It sneaks up on you and steals your heart.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, I wanna see that.
All right. Now, you're kind of infamous for being one of the first directors to ever fire himself.
Possibly in the history of the world, actually. That's a very long and difficult story. My second movie, which I wrote and produced, was called The Quiet Earth, and it was also based on a New Zealand novel about a man who wakes up one morning and everyone's vanished, and he tries to figure out what happened. And I spent 2 years getting it ready to go, financing it, had written the script, and it was done on a tax deal, and the movie had to be finished by a certain date. And I looked at the script, and although the New Zealand Film Commission just thought it was great, I knew it wasn't good enough. It just wasn't, and I didn't have the time and the energy left. And I'd been first AD in a couple of years before for a New Zealand film director called Jeff Murphy, who's probably the most brilliant human being I've ever known. And I went to him and I said, "I need some help with this script. It's just not good enough." And he took it for a couple of days, and he came back. He'd sort of done this whole different movie that he'd written. And I looked at him and went, "Boy, that is a piece of work and a half. It's not mine. I can't do that." I said, "Why don't I produce it and you direct it?" So I owned that
that's
movie,
awesome.
lock, stock, and barrel.
Wow.
I fired myself because I have the same mission with my wines. Apart from human safety, on a movie when you're shooting it or at the winery, apart from human safety, the most important thing is how good your work is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And if your ego gets in the way, you're down the road. Okay,
Right.
so I made the best decision for that movie, and it was Neil deGrasse Tyson calls it one of his top 10 sci-fi movies of all time. you know?
Really?
Very cool.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
It became. We thought it was a dog when we made it too, and it turned into a cult classic. And
that's
I just did
wonderful.
the entire renovation of my beach house in New Zealand on the last video sale from that movie alone, and that was 40 years ago. So pretty good, eh?
Wow. So
Congrats.
firing yourself pays off.
I will be honest with you and tell you it was one of the most painful times of my life because I had got to the point where going through college as not an academic and graduating summa cum laude, and then my first documentary was an insane success and hit, and then my first
You mean you're
feature-
smart too?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the trouble is I had got to the point where I thought I could do anything, and it was a really good learning lesson for me is that I'm really good at drama, and I'm just science fiction. I thought I could be good at it, but I didn't think I was. I was the one who decided. Nobody else decided, you know.
Well, it's so awesome that your dedication was to the quality of
Yes,
the film.
absolutely.
And your ego didn't get in the way. A lot of people, their ego would have gotten in the way, and they would have been like, oh, we're still going with my script, or, you know.
Well, that's just stupid.
Well, yeah, it's
I'm-
pretty rare to have somebody be the bigger person like that. Though,
Well,
so it's
maybe
awesome.
not even bigger, just smarter. Try having a dog of a movie hanging around your life for the rest of your life. You know, I made a good decision, but the same applies to our wines. I mean, there's nothing that we do not do to make those wines as good as possible. I don't give a damn about money or how much we sell them or what people think or anything.
It's about the wine.
Well, it's really
and
important
what-
for people to know that this is Sam Pillsbury we're talking to, movie director. He also now is this incredible winemaker. His wine is called Pillsbury wine. And tell us how you got started with that.
Well, ever since I was a kid, I've loved wine. When I was 13, I was born in New England. When I was 13, my family emigrated to New Zealand, and we went. We couldn't fly there in those days, really. We went by Italian ocean liner, and every night on this ship there was a carafe of Chianti on the table, and my parents were really liberal, and I had a little glass of wine. Well, just those things like holding the wine up to the light and seeing that sparkle through that beautiful luminous red that Chianti will give you, and smelling it and drinking it with my food and getting a little bit of a buzz, and I just loved wine ever since. So way back in the 80s in New Zealand, I bought a bunch of land on an island off the coast of Auckland called Waiheke Island, where actually some of the probably the best wines in New Zealand are grown, but they're very small vineyards, so they don't come here. And I was friends with those guys, and I followed what they did, and in about 87 I bought this land, and I was going to start an operation there, but I wound up getting so much work offers in LA that I had to sell that land and move to what we call Hollywood, and then it took me a few years to get that machine running properly, and it was only in 1999 and in the local Smitty's, a few blocks from where I live on Shea Boulevard, the corner of Tatum and Shea.
I used to work there.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's now a Fry's marketplace. There was a display of 3 Arizona wines, and I bought this Chardonnay for $12 and took it home and opened it that night. And I had been drinking Chard for 25 years, and I had never tasted anything like that. And I brought some Chard with me today. I basically drove.
Like it was good or bad?
It was so phenomenally brilliant. I basically,
Oh.
I mean, I'll compress the story, but basically I drove down the next day and bought all this land and planted all my wine there. And I
So you bought the land after trying
the wine.
the
'Cause
wine.
And so
Interesting.
the wine, Pillsbury wine, I think most people don't know this, but we all do, is grown here in Arizona, right?
Oh, there's
in Wilcox, Arizona.
There's over 100 bonded wineries in the state, and
Yeah.
and a whole bunch of them are getting some of the top awards in the country.
And our show is very sustainable, so we really like to support local,
Yep.
local, and your Pillsbury wine is incredible. And people, but you're selling it all over the world. It's not just here in Arizona.
No, I don't. I only
Oh,
sell
okay.
it in Arizona. Yeah,
I thought Richard Betts said that you're selling it everywhere.
every time.
There's a guy in Europe that buys some.
Oh, okay. So just nationally?
I just don't have a. I would have to get $400 a bottle for my wine. We're getting up to $150 now.
Oh, wow.
To even make it worth my while.
Right, the
finding it.
licensing and the time. It's such a pain.
It's
Australia-
a volume issue.
yeah.
And don't let that deter you,
No,
because
no.
you can have amazing local wine. Same thing in British Columbia, other places. The local wine is world class, but it just doesn't go all over the world because they can't do millions of bottles.
I have no problem with that. I mean, when I developed this business, I did work out a whole lot of things that to always have an open-ended possibility. I mean, if I sometimes what will happen, and I don't need this, but the door's open for it, that if some really big wine person from, say, California, for example, wanted to give me $10 million for 49% of my company.
You think about it.
I would think about it, and I would plan a whole lot of more wine and build a bigger
Right.
winery,
Yeah,
and we could do it.
As your corporate lawyer, I'd let you go up to 49.9%.
Okay, cool. The other one would be like the Four Peaks thing, where they buy you out, but you have like a 10-year ironclad contract, and because what those people mostly want to do is they're smart enough to not want to destroy what you created. They just want to have an arm of their company that works. So what they have tended to do is say, go for it. Here's some money. Let's we'll track it with you.
Yeah,
I don't need either of those things, but if they happen, I've got 100 acres of land, and when I issued my first public offering, one of the long-term proposals on it was there's a weird bylaw in Cochise County. If you have 100 acres of land and a well and a paved road to your door, which happened last year, you can put 27 dwellings on that property without going through a subdivision. So I have plans for
Good to know.
a restaurant, a winery, an art gallery, a spa, 27 passive solar casitas, but I need, $20 million.
Okay,
Right,
so are you
right.
looking for an investor?
No, I'm not looking for it, but it's just something that's there that we
Okay.
could entertain.
Okay,
you know?
okay.
Yeah,
well,
you put out the
I've got it.
intention and you're waiting to see
I've
what
got
happens.
this.
People come to me from time to time, and we kind of talk. But the great thing is, I'm fine the way I am. I'm just totally fine. I'm totally
perfect.
totally
Thriving.
totally
Thriving.
self-sustained, totally working just fine, having a whole lot of fun. One of the reasons I moved from movies to from movies to wine was because I got really tired of talking to stupid bureaucrats, and I don't have to talk to those people, and I like it like that.
So you mentioned a few things there. First of all, your wine is sustainable. It's organic.
Yes.
You don't spray it or anything.
We grow organically. It's not certified, and I'm not going to go through that process because I don't give a shit about
But
that.
you're organic.
But we never spray with any chemicals. It's it's funny. People tend to think that organic is a really big deal, and it's not. You just have to think more. You don't just call up Monsanto and get them to spray everything.
Right.
There's a whole lot of the only thing we can't do organically really well is weed spraying. Roundup is the best weed spray in the entire world, and we ain't going to use that,
Right.
So, but we have got an $8,500 machine that bolts onto the side of our tractor, which will go in and out between the vines, and it's more expensive, than spraying with everything's more expensive than spraying with Roundup. But no, everything else is organic sprays, and we hand do everything, and we don't do anything in tank, and I could go on.
Well, speaking of all
That's
this
awesome.
wine, is it possible for us to get a taste of one of your favorite ones?
Why, Kinga? Why is it you're the first person to ask for that? It's like-
I thought
It's her
you-
birthday. She wants to get a
It's my
flower.
birthday, and I feel parched.
we're going to start with a Provençal.
taco.
We're gonna start with the Provençal style rosé, which is a blend of Grenache and Mourvedre. I picked this fruit a little early, so it's not super ripe, and the alcohol won't be too high. It goes.
Well, that's a bummer.
See, it's really interesting. The lower the alcohol of the wine is, the more elegant it can be, and the more you can drink. So this
This is
Napa,
where I get it wrong.
this
Yeah,
Napa
you're right.
Valley Cab thing is complete nonsense.
Yeah, if you want alcohol percentage, get whiskey.
Yeah, exactly,
Wine is about the
Or
experience.
Chimay Bleu.
Everclear.
Yeah,
Everclear's the best,
just
and good value
Everclear.
for money,
That's
too.
right, there we go. And you can,
Here you go,
you
Sweetie
can
Pie.
prime your
Thank you.
carburetor
Thank
with
you.
it too.
Here we go. I'll pass it down.
So this is this is one night on the skins, or actually even maybe 6 or 8 hours, which is one of the reasons we call it one night stand. There's a couple of other reasons. Some
love
of
it.
which
One
are-
night stand. See,
One
great
night stand
names.
rosé.
It's got
One night.
a beautiful color.
It goes when it's racked in straight into stainless steel. It never sees wood, and then we bottle it. It's funny. Most people don't know this, but the French drink 5 times more rosé than any other wine.
Interesting.
It's inexpensive. It's relatively low in alcohol. And it goes with everything. And I know that sounds like a sales pitch, but it really does. I mean, if you sip this, it's very delicate, so you could have it with pan-fried snapper, but it's got good acidity, and it's got this leanness. You can have this with
I love
barbecue
it.
and curry,
Wow. Delicious.
Yeah.
That is delicious.
And of course, it survived the American history of something that people sometimes called rosés or blushes, which were just the most horrible, sweet.
How would you describe this?
It's bone dry, flinty, fragrant, clean, crisp, French-style wine.
Exactly.
Okay. Delicious.
And what year?
2020.
Oh, this is brand new.
Yeah.
Wow, because this is gonna.
Well, you don't age this, right? It goes right into stainless steel. and it's-
Rosés we don't make it to last a long time,
Right.
and so it's really not messed around with, and it'll get a little better over the next 12 months.
I mean, you shouldn't be aging rosé. The only time you age rosé is in your belly.
No, I mean we don't make it like that. Like we age some of our reds, you know,
Yes.
like our Syrahs and Petit Syrahs. We'll leave in
Right.
oak longer
Right.
than other wines. But
Do you face any advantages or disadvantages in the Arizona climate because it's kind of dry here?
I got to tell you, this is an amazing thing. People, to this day, people come up and laugh in my face when you say you must be fucking crazy thinking you can grow wine grapes in Arizona, not knowing that all wine grapes originated in the desert in the Middle East. And I'll tell you the bunch of things. The soil where we are is almost perfect. In most of Arizona, it's actually really good. It depends. There's clay in Sonoyta, and the Verde Valley's got issues. Wilcox is insane. It's just perfect, and it's also cheaper. To get the right temperature profile, you've got to go up high. We're at 4,500 feet. Now, in Europe and in South America, high altitude is 2,200 feet above sea level. We're double that. So let me tell you a bunch of things about that. First of all, you get way more UV than other vineyards in the world. And I pick my grapes earlier than all the other wineries I sell my fruit to, and they all tell me I'm crazy, I'm picking too early. But I kind of go, well, I seem to be doing okay in the old awards area.
You might be onto something.
I realized about 6 months ago that all the literature about winemaking and all the teaching about winemaking and all the stuff they do and all the vineyards about winemaking are based on information about wines grown at 500 feet above sea level. Every 1,000 feet up you go, you get 10% more UV. I get 45% more UV than almost every other vineyard in the world, and it changes the grapes. For the first thing it does, it makes the skins thicker to protect themselves from the sun. Guess where a lot of the color and aroma and the flavor of wine comes from? It goes on and on. It softens tannins, so you don't, things like Petit Syrah, I don't have to age it for 5 or 6 years before we release it. The other thing is that we have these massive diurnal temperature swings, so it can be 100 degrees during the day and it'll drop to 60 at night.
Every day. We all know this in Arizona. You
Yeah.
get a 30-degree swing every day.
And at the higher altitude we are, it's even more so. I mean, it gets
Oh, is
cold
it?
at night and it just slows everything down. So what you have, like in France, for example, it's really hard to get enough sun. I mean that whole thing about the massive, Robert Parker reds are pretty much based on once every 12 or 15 years they made a massive red and it became celebrated. But in Australia and California and Arizona, all you have to do is go to sleep, and the grapes ripen and then you pick them later than everybody else. And so you get these jammy, high alcohol wines that I think they're impossible. You can't taste anything if you drink a Napa Valley. What do people eat when they drink Napa Valley cabs? I don't know. Every steakhouse you go to in Phoenix, the first thing they do is they order a Napa Valley cab. You can't taste the steak you just paid $150 for. But so there's that. There's other things, like in the south of France where they have the Mistrals that come up from Africa, up to 75 miles an hour winds. Guess what those winds do? They're a pain in the ass, okay? We have to strap our fruit down so it doesn't get thrashed around. It blows all the crap out of the land. It blows all the mold spores, insects that you don't want to be there, so you don't have to spray a whole bunch of shit. It purifies the land. The land is cheap. We have plenty of water. I pay guys who come over the border legally. I pay them more than Arizona minimum wage, so they're incredibly happy. They work really hard. And it's like a whole bunch of secret weapons.
Sounds like it's all advantages then to being in Arizona.
There's only one disadvantage, and it's ubiquitous in Arizona, and that is that the water in the soil is kind of high in pH. Mm-hmm. It's about 8 to 8.5, which is actually perfect for human health, which is why I should have been bottling water instead of wine, because I actually could have made a profit. So I don't want to make wines that are created by a bunch of chemicals and yeast from a lab in California. We ferment all of our grapes with wild yeast. I'll talk about that in a second. But what happens is with that high pH, and if you want big, rich wines, you pick them late. The later you pick them, the more the pH shoots up and the acid goes down. So you wind up with these flabby wines. So you have to add acid to them. I don't like to do that because I want to make these wines as naturally as possible. So we pick a little early while the acids are still high, and I dose my vineyard every year with organic gypsum, which brings the pH down.
Gypsum.
Gypsum, basically drywall. But the trouble is that you have to water. We have wells and we have meadows and we drip irrigate everything, and the water's high in pH. So every year it brings the soil back up a little bit. But we're doing it. We're figuring it out.
Well, Sam, you're doing something right because you've won so many awards. Tell us about some of these awards.
We've won.
Like 58 out of 59.
We've won 58 medals in the San Francisco Chronicle out of 59 entries, and they came and saw us last year, and they said, nobody's ever done this. How do you do it? And basically, the truth is pretty much terroir. It's pretty much the land I was smart enough to buy.
Mm-hmm.
That is incredible.
And
that's incredible. That's a huge success.
I mean, Sam, you're just one example of, I think, a really burgeoning Arizona wine industry.
Oh, totally.
And you're the leader of the pack, but it's amazing. It's one of the greatest places for wine.
There are over 100 bonded wineries in the state, and a good percentage of those are making what people call world-class wines. I mean, they're just really good. Mm-hmm. And everybody has their own style, thank God, and everybody has different ways of growing and so on. And it is really, it's fun. We mostly get on pretty well and share things, not always. I always do the analogy is that we're kind of like the first settlers who moved into New England, and had their little farm and their flintlock rifle. And if anyone came near, they would crouch down behind their tree, So we're a little bit like that too, but it's better than that. It's actually pretty good.
Well, we've had Richard Betts on the show numerous times, and he's a big fan. And I know he's a wine judge. He's in a lot of books, and so we've been tasting your wines for quite a while. So it's so incredible to finally have you here in studio and celebrate with you.
The one night stand was very good. Is there another one we can try?
Yes.
That got me excited to try another one.
I know, because we have 4 more to try.
It was delicious.
Exactly. So delicious.
And I liked your description, too. It was so crisp. That was accurate.
I agree.
Very dry.
Or we're going to a new one?
Yes,
Okay,
we're
great.
going to a new one.
Great.
Okay, this is the wine we called Wild Child Wine, and like
Wild Child, this is one of the first ones I drank. Chet was not here to hear the story, and I'm not going to tell the details of who it was, but a neighbor and friend of Sam's came to our house, the house you grew up in, and brought 3 of his bottles of wine. And he said, he brought Wild Child and Diva, and he said, I thought of you when I saw these wines. But anyway, they're friends. And so we drank 3 bottles of wine.
So why would you think Wild Child is named after you?
Well,
Oh, wow.
I don't think it's named after me, but somebody thought.
So what is when we pour the wines, what is the history behind Wild Child?
Okay, the name thing, the rosé is called Rosé One Night Stand, partly because it's only on the skins for one night. But the real reason is I picked it from vines that I had bought from Dick Erath that he said was Tempranillo, and it just wasn't. And we had picked it, and it wasn't very good. So I pulled all the vines out because I wanted to know what the hell I was growing. And then eventually we actually made a rosé that got a silver medal with the Arizona Republic. And so the first time I was pouring my first 3 wines, which was the rosé, the Rhone Red, and the Diva, there was a group of about 50 people, and I jokingly said it was just called rosé. And I said we jokingly nicknamed this Rosé One Night Stand because we can never make it again. And all the women in the room laughed, and all the men looked nervous and uncomfortable.
You're like, sold.
So I thought, that's what we're calling this, mother.
That's a new glass.
Oh, good one. Thank you.
It's
buddy.
awesome
Cheers.
when
I'll
you
use that for
stumble
my-
over the name of
Cheers.
something like that
Or-
organically.
And the reason this is called Wild Child is because
Happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday to you.
I wanted to make a wine, and at this time I wasn't growing enough fruit to make. I had to bring fruit in, so there was an abandoned vineyard across the street. So we did a field blend white and a field blend red from there, and I called this Wild Child because it came from a wild vineyard. But I also wanted to be.
This is delicious.
The whites, the wines that I make are mostly classical, like the Chard, the Rhone is a Côte de Rhone, the Diva's a Chateauneuf, the Guns and Kisses is a Côte Rôtie.
I mean, isn't that awesome that it's a classical wine grown in Arizona with cool names?
Well, and
Well, and
most
it's-
importantly, it should taste good. But so I wanted
Tastes
to call, I
delicious.
called it Wild
Delicious.
Child so I could these are the Wild Child White and the Wild Child Red are my own blends. They're totally my invention. I totally create this blend. So that's the second reason why I call it Wild Child. And the third reason is we just had a little boy. And we have a poster of my little son on a beach in New Zealand, and this story is written on.
How old is he now?
He's 15.
Aw.
He's an inch and a half taller than his dad.
Oh, how cute.
So this is my attempt to make something like a dry Gewürztraminer. It's in that style. It's a dry aromatic. The blend changes every year, but on the one hand, it's all our leftover whites after doing all our varietals. But we still blend it. We blend it very carefully. We move things around. This is a blend of Pinot Gris, Symphony, Chardonnay, Malvasia, and Viognier. And this is our cheapest wine. And the year before this,
what does this cost?
25. And you can get Wild Child White, Wild Child Red, and Rosé.
A bargain at twice the price.
And it is. And you can get them all at Total Wines for $25. And I don't care how famous we may become and how expensive some of our wines will be, there will always be a white, a red, and a rosé that people can afford. I do not want to be part of an elitist community, but we're pushing our other wines up to $150 a bottle, and we're selling them.
Is that at any Total Wine in Phoenix area? then?
All Total Wines in Arizona have got those three wines.
Very exciting. Well, I'm gonna go get a bottle
one-
of Wild Child later.
Yeah, this one I really like because I was expecting
delicious.
something different from the name, but it's got like I get some nice pear on the nose, and then it's got a sweetness to it, but it's not.
No residual
There's
sugar.
no residual
It's the
sugar.
fruit.
It's
Nope.
all the fruit and.
All these wines you're going to taste today are bone dry. Yeah,
But it still has a sweetness to it, which is
It's-
just amazing.
it's
But it doesn't have that clawing sweetness.
See, I make food wine, so I don't want the wine to be cloying. I want it to be clean. I mean, we had this the other night. We had a dinner for 150 people at the vineyard, and I had the Wild Arizona Cuisine guys, Brett Vibber.
The new chef for
Yeah.
the lawns.
Not anymore.
Oh, really?
Gossip.
Okay, never mind.
He and I are
Juicy.
Working, he and I are
Okay.
working on something.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Anyway,
Details to
it was
follow.
it was a salad.
Press release
that-
to come.
Okay, but it was a salad with a slightly oily. It had a vinaigrette that was slightly oily, and the vinegar was slightly sweet. So you put a piece of the salad in your mouth, and you were left with this beautiful but slightly oily, slightly sweet thing. This thing, bang, gone instantly. I didn't say at the beginning, but I don't think I said I make food wines. I don't make cocktail wines. And we have two principles. That's one. The other one is I feel very strongly that there's far too much generic food and wine in the world. Actually, I could go on for hours. There's also far too
Same.
many generic houses, generic cars, generic clothes, generic
But not
shoes.
Sam Pillsbury.
I could go. And
You want to go to McDonald's after this?
yeah, right. So
With some
we
wine.
only make wine from the fruit we grow organically. We hand harvest, hand prune, hand sort. We're always buried in the juice. We're always smelling it. Everything goes into neutral oak and stainless steel barrels. Nothing ever goes into new oak. Nothing goes into tank. Everything's fermented bone dry. We ferment with the yeast that comes in on the grapes from our property. So everything about these wines is unique. And like little French wines and foods and little French villages, it comes from a place and it was made by a person. You know, you pick up a Napa Valley wine and you look at the back and it says, "Oh, the grapes for this wine were sourced from the finest vineyards in California." That means they brought their fruit in. You know, we don't do that.
Well, like you say, 95+% of wine that's out there is really made from a lab. They're getting a flavor profile, and there's nothing wrong with it, but it's
Actually, there is.
well, you're right. There is something
Let's
wrong
call
with
it.
It's boring.
Well, doing
It
something
is
the right
boring.
way, like I feel like a lot of, smaller operations before they get bought up by the big corporations, they're staying true to their principles, and that's why the quality is so good.
Right.
It goes up and down. There's quite a range in Arizona, but there's a lot of people that do that and some people that don't. But what I wanted to say about that is that in order to make money, you've either got to. I knew at the beginning that the only way I could survive financially is if we could become a cult wine, and that might happen. But
It's already happening.
Otherwise, you need to master.
He has a
this,
huge
which
following.
means
You have a huge following. Stop it.
We
Everyone loves Sam Pillsbury.
you do things in these great big stainless steel jacketed tanks, and they're temperature controlled. But we do everything in barrels. So I'm going to tell you something like if all of your Syrah goes into one 40,000 gallon tank, that's what your Syrah tastes like. Okay. Our Syrah goes into 35 barrels, and every barrel tastes different. So that when we're doing our blends, we spend weeks sampling the different barrels and making notes and making up combinations. So it's much more time consuming, it's much more labor intensive, but it makes for better wines.
I mean, it's art instead of science.
Absolutely.
And we use the science, but I don't define. But I want to tell you something else too. I don't want to make perfect wines. I want to make interesting wines.
Right.
And with all that equipment, you can make perfect wines. But perfect's boring. How many?
Well, it's not even perfect. It's just the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and
And-
something I do know about Sam, because I've known him quite a while, is he's so hardworking, and he's so labor intensive. He's always traveling here and there, and he's not telling people what to do. He's doing it. He's hands on.
And that obsession with mastering a craft is so awesome. We've kind of been touching on it in past episodes of how people need to, try to find their passion and chase it. So it's so awesome that Sam has been doing that, whether it was through his film career or as a winemaker. So
I love it.
Wait,
Can we try another
yeah,
one?
I was going to say, we only have like 15 or 20 minutes left.
Okay.
We have 3 more to taste.
Yeah.
We're super excited.
All right.
Down.
Everyone's
what is
so
everybody's
incredible.
favorite so far out of those two?
I mean,
I think the Wild Child is my favorite. I like the rosé, but the Wild Child was just.
I'm
I
going to
had
vote
this-
for the
I had this
rosé
with
so far.
Pokey last night. It was perfect. I mean, it's such a good food wine, and you
Yeah.
can just drink it. But I mean, I could make that a fruit bomb as easy as pie. I don't want to make a fruit bomb. I want to buy
can
something
you-
that has complexity.
Right, absolutely.
Can you elaborate more by what you mean by a food wine versus a
Good
tasting
question.
wine?
A drinker.
Good question.
Well, this is my opinion, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm pretty sure that the origin of what I consider to be overly high alcohol, oaky, overripe fruit bombs from
Are you
Napa
saying
Valley.
fruit bombs?
Fruit bombs.
Fruit bombs. Okay,
just-
fruit bombs.
Fruit, B-O-B-M.
Yeah, fruit bombs.
B-O-M-B-S.
Yeah.
That 60 years ago in that part of the United States, rather like Arizona now, people had been drinking Coca-Cola and beer all their lives, and so the way to get them to drink the wine was to make it have so much flavor that it blew your head off. But that you can't taste food with that kind of wine. And a food wine is a wine that's more delicate, more nuanced. Those are both perfect examples, the rosé
Love
and the
'em.
Wild Child White.
Delicious.
And so that they pair with food rather than dominate it.
Right.
And sometimes I'll
The
I'll-
spicier or the more flavorful the food, the lighter the wine has to be.
Actually, not really true. Funnily enough, we make 8 or 10 whites and 8 or 10 reds, and on our sheets in the tasting rooms they're arranged in order of intensity. And I always say to people, these first here, these will go really well with pan-fried snapper. These ones down the end, stir-fried Asian food, because they're more intense and spicy. This what I'm about to pour for you now is a little more like that in the sense that it's more spicy.
And Sam is a very good cook.
Well-
Would you consider yourself a cook or a chef?
I'm guest chef at a bunch of restaurants in Phoenix. and
Yes, there you go. Yes, chef. And people don't
So
know this.
cool. Wait,
Yes.
Give us some of the restaurants. We're going to go and crash it.
Well, I've been guest chef at Lawns at Hermosa Inn a number of times.
Very cool.
Also, the Breadfruit and Rum Bar, which is now closed.
Oh, I've gone to your
closed
dinners
down?
there.
Oh, no. I
That
love
was
that
a wonderful
restaurant.
place. Yeah, it really was.
Here's one.
Wait, Martin, sorry. I didn't mean if I'm boxing
No,
you.
no,
out.
you're good, man. You're all good.
Share the mic.
It was quite funny. Danielle asked me to come and guest chef there, and she said, "Just tell us what you want to do." And we'll do it." I said, "Nah." I said, so I went in there for a month, and I'd started out at the very bottom of the ladder chopping herbs, and because I wanted to go through the
I can
whole
do that.
thing. Yeah. Anyway, at the end of a month, I knew that I didn't my profession to be a chef in a restaurant.
Well, people don't know this, but would you say monthly you have an incredible dinner where you have a wine pairing?
Yeah, we
At least once a month.
We do dinners either in the Cottonwood Tasting Room or at the Vineyard almost once a month. Quite often with Wild Arizona Cuisine, which is Brett Vibber, who we were just talking about before.
And he sells out these dinners.
And
saw
one
it.
of the cool ways to go there, you just pull up with an RV,
Here we go.
rent it from RV and go, and
There
you
you
don't
go.
have to DUI anywhere.
Oh, you were
and
saying,
you just hang out.
That's right. You were saying earlier too. You're part of the
Harvest Host.
Harvest Host,
Organization.
That's a great organization.
which obviously is a partner of yours. I
Well,
would imagine.
I mean, we're not formally partner, but what they do, so we rent out RVs, but then once you get it, where do you go? And Harvest Host is one of those places that places you in places like Sam.
2,000 places.
Yeah.
Thank you
Farms-
so much, RV and Go, for sponsoring. Thank you, Paul Kassir.
Oh, cool.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
So we will have to take an RV and go wine tasting.
Okay, now this wine you're looking at now is a real classical aromatic. It's called Malvasia Bianca. It's an
Yummy.
Italian aromatic.
Okay.
It flourishes in the south of Italy and Sicily. We believe it came from Greece originally. And again, I don't make it as a fruit bomb, which you can easily do, but I will tell you something interesting about this wine. The 2017 and the 2019 won Best of Class in the San Francisco Chronicle, which means it was the best Malvasia Bianca entered in the whole country.
Yay!
Wow.
I mean,
That's a big
I don't know
deal.
about you guys, but this is delicious.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Very.
Martin, you
very
got to sing about this. Can we have a
Very
little song
different.
here?
I'm fascinated by the conversation.
Yeah.
At any time you want to sing, pull
Cheers
your
to
guitar.
a fun birthday episode.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, I would rather.
Are you legal enough to drink now?
No, Sam's letting me drink without being 21.
Oh wow.
Don't tell anyone.
Nobody
Don't tell-
nobody
don't
asked
put
for
this-
don't put
nobody
this to air.
nobody asked for an ID walking in.
Oh my gosh.
So Sam, my son is 21, and he's
Chet's
currently
like,
in Sonoma
what the hell are you
studying to be a
talking about?
winemaker. Do you have any advice for him?
It's funny because I evolved making wines in New Zealand where there was no hierarchy, and because I evolved making movies in New Zealand, making wine in Arizona where there's no hierarchy. I prefer that myself. Like people have often said to me when I'm at these international wine festivals, how come New Zealand cinematographers are all so young? Some of them are in their 20s or 30s. American cinematographer doesn't get to be a cinematographer till he's like 65 because he has to be a clapper loader for 5 years, and he has to be a focus puller for 5 years, and he has to be an operator for 10 years. But in these emerging cultures, if you're good, you go to the top real quick because they need you. So in New Zealand,
Interesting.
New Zealand's a really good place, and also for actors. Actors often say to me, "Oh, we're going to go to Hollywood." I said, "You know what? Find a city where they do a lot of movies because it's cheaper or because of the tax dodge. They don't want to have to bring people in from LA and fly them in first class and accommodate them and give them per diems. If they can get a local actor, and so I would say don't think you need to be in California.
Okay.
And-
Hollywood North, New Zealand.
Yeah.
Have your son
there's
come work
been-
for Sam.
I mean,
Yeah.
one of the most beautiful
Hello.
series of movies ever made, Lord of the Rings, obviously, is from New Zealand. And that's just
Really?
like an example.
I did not know that.
I'll tell you something funny about that too. When I started going to Europe on the movie business in '79, nobody knew where New Zealand was. It's near Greenland, isn't it? Stuff like that. or it's really close to Australia. And I said, well, it's 3 hours on a jumbo jet between Auckland and Sydney, if you call that close. Pacific's 10 times bigger than the Atlantic. Nobody knows that, but. And after Lord of the Rings, it's on everybody's bucket list.
Oh, yeah.
So the New Zealand government that got really criticized for doing a tax deal with Hollywood to make those movies, they're just fucking killing it, It's like,
They're not as dumb as they look.
no, exactly. Or sound.
Yeah, right.
So when's the last time you were in New Zealand?
Only 3 years ago because I can't go back.
What do you mean?
Well, because of COVID.
Oh, that's right. They're trying to keep everybody out.
Well, I can go back, but I have to quarantine for 2 weeks. That means my normal 2-week stay is 4 weeks. I can't be away from my vineyard for 4 weeks. So I can't. I'm not going to quarantine for 2 weeks. Fuck that.
Somebody that he's very high energy. You think I'm high energy? Sam is times 2 Kinga. No,
There's
he
no
is.
way.
No,
You're
he
the
is.
Energizer Bunny.
No. He's more than I am.
Boom,
No.
boom, 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 boom,
Literally.
boom.
Would you agree? You're always like,
I
I'm going here, I'm going there.
wouldn't compare, but I work. I've just finished 8 weeks of 18-hour days. I get up at 4
Yep.
o'clock and I cook dinner for everybody at 8 o'clock at night. Yeah. And I'm 75 next month.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
So is this your birthday party too?
No, November 23rd.
Oh, okay. We'll do another show for your birthday. Perfect.
No. I think it's. I'm
Day before
lucky.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Sometimes it's on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it moves around, but.
Nice.
But I think optimism is very good for your energy, and I eat healthy. I don't do drugs.
And you drink well, apparently.
Drink well in moderation.
Moderation, I always say.
Well, that's moderation squared.
I'm
so
not telling you-
all bets are off.
I'm not saying any details.
Exactly.
I'm not saying. Oh, good. As he gets the next wine, I'm not telling anybody any details. I know a secret night that you drank with your neighbor,
Secret night.
and I'm not saying what happened. Don't say another word.
It was whiskey, and I can't even remember going home. I swear to God. And the other guy,
Whiskey will do that to
the other guy was well. I'm not used to drinking.
Somebody
liquor.
ended up in the bushes.
Someone sat on a friggin'
cactus.
He was like hours having his ass
Unplucked.
being unplucked.
Hey, that's why you should stick
This-
to one.
This story makes me feel so much better. 'Cause I've
And
never
Sam
done
was
that.
never allowed to go
Done
over
other
again.
things, but not-
Sam was never allowed to go
I
into play
literally,
again.
when I got to my door, I literally couldn't walk to my bedroom.
Well, that's why they put those mats right in front of your
Oh,
door. You
that's
can
it,
just crawl up on those and sleep.
Anyway, so this has been so exciting to have Sam Pillsbury on the show,
Thank you.
talking about his winemaking. He's just a brilliant man, movie director. I'll take the last sip of this. And to have you here and talking about all these wines and how you got started and just, how you're sustainable. I'm just so thankful.
I love his passion for doing the best you can and having the utmost quality in your work and your products.
Absolutely.
Somebody who owns a totally commercial exercise winery in Sonoida about 3 years ago said to me, "So how'd you do this year?" I said, "Oh, I lost a ton of money as usual." He said, "Well, you've got a fucked business plan." And I said, "No, I don't. I just got a different business plan from you."
Yeah, wealth isn't necessarily shown on the balance sheet.
So what is the name of this one?
This is the wine that brought me to Wilcox. This is a Chardonnay.
The Chardonnay, okay. It
And this
doesn't
is-
smell like a Chardonnay.
Well, it doesn't smell like an oaky, buttery California Chard. This is a white Burgundy style Chard.
Oh,
Again,
this is one of my favorites. I love this.
50-50 stainless steel and neutral oak,
Okay.
inhibited malolactic, picked early, organically farmed. And it makes
But
a
what's the
difference.
title of this one?
It's just called Chardonnay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's all I need to call
It's
it.
delicious.
So we've got One Night
very
Stand.
good.
We've got
Try this with barbecued salmon, like to die for.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's very
Perfect.
smooth.
Yeah.
I could picture that.
Yeah, it's got the attack to cope with the fishiness and the cleanness to wash the oiliness and the smoke
That's
away.
awesome.
Yeah, it's
No, I love your wines.
thank you.
delicious.
You obviously have very good taste.
What is your? I know there was one that's over $100. It's like something like chocolate or.
It's actually what they call a Côte Rôtie. It's a Syrah, and it's a Northern Rhone version of Syrah. Côte Rôtie means burnt hills, and when I saw that written, I thought that might do okay in Arizona, So, and what it is, it's a co-ferment of Syrah with a little bit of Viognier, anywhere from 3% to maybe 8%. We do about 3%. And I'm pretty sure it evolved as a field blend with some farmer, up in the Northern Rhone, and someone tasted, well, what the hell's in this? And then realized, basically, scientifically, Viognier changes the chemical structure of Syrah. So the first one we made in 2012, I only thought of it halfway through harvest. We'd already picked all the Viognier. So I winged it and I co-fermented it with a grape called Symphony, which is an aromatic developed by UC Davis. And it was pretty good, and it got a silver medal in the Chronicles. So I thought, the
Big
next
deal.
year, I'm going to do it classic. So we did a classic in 13. It got a double gold. Now, I entered those wines. First of all, I put the price of all my wines before they ever get any medals. That was $72 because I was so good, and I had a small amount. So I entered the most expensive Syrah category in the biggest, toughest, most respected wine competition in the country. So I'm assuming I'm competing with the best Syrahs in America, okay? I mean, probably.
You'd like to think so.
I got a double gold, and I didn't know what it was, so I called them up. I said, "What's a double gold?" And they said, "That's when all 5 judges give it a gold medal in a blind tasting." So I said, "How many were in this category?" And they said, 55. I said, "How many double golds?"
Oh wow! Woohoo!
One of
He held up 3 for our
the, one of the 3 top.
This is a radio broadcast.
One of the 3 top Syrahs in the United States of America.
That's incredible.
And you
Cheers.
Out of good old Arizona.
Viognier is my favorite grape.
I nearly brought
Cheers to
Viognier
that.
tonight too. Mark Tavel says we make the best Viognier in America.
Really?
Out of
Cheers.
good old
Gotta tease
Wilcox,
us like
Arizona.
Cheers. We
One of the
wanna
best
congratulate
Shiraz in the country.
Good stuff.
And we've won 3 double golds for that since then too. Like every other year we get a double
Right.
gold.
I just find so much depth in that grape. I've liked most of the ones that I've tried over the years, so I'm very excited to try yours. Tarbell's has it?
No, Tarbell has our wild child red. I think.
Where could I get your Viognier local? Just
Oh,
from you?
Viognier.
Yeah.
Some AJs have it.
Okay.
You'd have to call.
All right.
But
Or
there's-
is it distributed at Total Wines? Or
no, it's not in Total Wine.
But also, you can get it directly through Sam.
But you can get it from me.
Okay.
We
Oh,
ship
well, what's your website?
PillsburyWine.com.
There you go.
And if you order 6 bottles or more, we'll deliver to your house.
So www.pillsburywine.com.
Okay.
What if somebody gets a few
Good time
cases?
to plug it.
You can get as much as you like.
I will try. I will order some. I really like this. I don't tend to care for Arizona wines. I like yours. I like Frog's Leap. And those,
Javelina Leap.
no, there's one.
Oh, Frog's Leap?
Frog's Leaf's from California.
Yeah, that's California.
No, all right, then I'm thinking of something else. I apologize. But there's
Flying Leap?
Flying Leap. Thank you. You don't like them?
Oh, wait.
I didn't say that.
No.
I
We do
didn't
like
say
it.
that.
We do like it.
Well, maybe
We don't talk negative.
Yeah, we don't talk negative here.
And
No
And we only have 5
honestly-
minutes, so let's go back to Pillsbury. So Sam Pillsbury.
The other guys who said I had the wrong business plan.
Oh shoot! Let's talk about something else. So we have
I don't know,
5
making
minutes
amazing
left.
wines is a pretty good business plan, if you ask me.
I agree.
These are
I
delicious.
agree.
Yeah.
And you know,
Well, and I don't.
It's so
care for
exciting
Chardonnay,
because-
but this is so different.
Yeah, what's a white Burgundy style shot? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's the French call it white Burgundy. It's a Burgundy grape.
Yeah.
You know?
And,
Yes,
and talking
yes.
about business plans, you know, the idea of creating a winery with the thought that it's going to be profitable is the wrong idea. It's like
your passion. You have to be in love with what you're doing.
it's like so I always use this analogy, and I'm sure Boeing can sue me if they want, but but Boeing's mission was not to make money. Their mission was to fly people safely from A to B. And when somebody thought their mission was to make money, they started to sell 707 safety equipment as a values-added service. No, that should have been included in the price. It's like, no, I'm not going to make planes crash if you didn't pay the last $13 million.
Which is the
And-
mistake they made with their
last one.
Their Dreamliner. And it almost bankrupted
Not
the company.
the Dreamliner, no, the
Sorry,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
right. The
yeah.
seven, I think it's the
the
707.
737 Max.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that was it.
That's it. Thank you. Wrong number. But the point is, your mission as a company shouldn't be making money. Your mission as a company,
Bingo.
If you're an airplane company, you should fly people safely from A to B. If you're a winemaker, you should make amazing wines. The money will come after.
I agree with you, and the trouble is that you do have to survive, but you don't have to make a whole lot of dough. I mean, I don't understand why people need to have $127 billion when there's a huge proportion of this country that really is desperately in need of food and health and education. I just don't understand it. And what I've always done from the time even when I was in college, I had my own businesses, was to try to figure out how to make a living doing something that you wanted to do.
Something
And
you love to do.
And I did that with movies, and it would turn out to be better than that. And the
Yes.
wine looks like that might happen too.
No, it's incredible. We love your wine, and we're so grateful that you're here. And thank you so much, Paul Kassir, for sponsoring this from RV
Well,
and Go.
RV and Go sponsored
Please
this.
please tell us what people need to do with their RVs and this wine.
Well, so first of all, people think, wine and RVs go naturally together. All alcohols go naturally together with RVing. We don't discriminate. It's an open church.
So you have
And,
an event coming up. Tell us about your
Yeah,
event.
so actually, this is going to be aired just before the Phoenix International Raceway event on November 5, 6, and 7, which is the championship for NASCAR. And we are giving away 5 packages. You enter. Go on the website, www.rvngo.com. For $10, you get to enter the raffle. The raffle, there's 5 packages of, you get a camper for a week that you can sleep in, a trailer, RV.
Could be you,
and it's
Sam.
gonna- Then you get,
I've got 2 already.
you already got, well, you should pile on. And then you get 2 tickets for the whole weekend. So Friday, Saturday.
We can get you
Friday,
some tickets.
Saturday,
We'll get you
and
tickets.
Sunday. And so you have the camper for the week, and you have 2 tickets for the 3 days of the event, and it's sold out. So it's the only way you can get in.
And
be
you'll
a
be there with
crazy
cases
party.
of Pillsbury wine.
And yeah, we're going to be. We have many booths there. We're going to be sponsoring the village, the camp in, and everything. And
With cases of Pillsbury wine.
absolutely.
See? There we go. So what are we tasting? This is delicious.
I've poured a rosé, 3 whites, and 1 red, and it's partly because I just love my whites. I think we've pulled something off that's kind of unique. I think they're better than most whites in the
I
the
agree.
world.
They're incredible.
This is Mourvedre, which is a Rhone variety. We grow mostly Rhone whites and reds, and it's an odd clone that I picked out of planted out of sheer ignorance. I knew nothing when I started this, and it wasn't very good for 7 years. About year 7, it started to get quite interesting. So this is one that. This just won a double gold in the Chronicle too.
Is
And
it
I can
this one
see
right
why.
here?
No,
It's
it's this
the
one
mo-
right here.
Okay,
the
I'm gonna look
Mourvedre.
at it.
It's
It's
I've
fantastic.
had several Mourvedres. It is fantastic. I mean, it's got such a nice mouthfeel.
Notice how it's cleaner and more elegant than
Mourvedre.
Absolutely,
yeah.
it has a nice,
Yeah.
long,
Mourvedre.
lovely finish.
All these
It's-
wines you can taste 10 minutes after you swallow them, for sure.
Yeah,
So delicious.
If you have chemicals and sugar in the wine, that doesn't happen. It goes away straight away. Yeah.
Right.
These don't have any of that in them. So thank you. It's finally turned out to be a good wine. I didn't like it very much.
Isn't that amazing about the plants? Because I've been in agriculture for not as long as you have, but I've had some experience with it, and it's just imagine plant to plant, varietal to varietal.
Everything's different.
Everything is different.
And that's the magic. Like if you make it all taste the same, that's process.
That's boring. We don't want boring.
I'll tell you an interesting story. Most of my wines seem to get better around 7 years. So I just think it's how deep the roots are gone, you know. But what I did once, because I get so frustrated between testing and pressing out, you get these differences in all the numbers. And no matter how much you test, you do berry samples, you do whole cluster samples. It's always never exactly the same.
Right.
So one year I'd sold half of my Syrah to Kent Callaghan, who's one of my heroes. And
Great guy. Love his wine.
Yeah, me too. I was taking the other half. So we have these bins on the back of this trailer, and I got all 8 pickers. I said, put 1 bucket of your grapes in one bin and 1 bucket in the other bin, all the way through this whole half-ton pick in each bin, right? Different wines. I mean, you can't do a more precise evaluation than that. So you know.
So people don't know we have only 5 minutes left. That also Sam does a lot for charities. In the show here, we're saving the planet
One show at a time.
And Sam does a lot. He volunteers a lot, and that's when I first met him. I was very grateful because I do a lot of volunteering for Child Help and so I instantly called him, and he was willing to donate his time and have a wine dinner. I know you do so much for charity, so thank you. We want to thank you for all your service that you do for all the charities out there.
It depends on the charity. I prefer to do things for people who are needy. You know, I get churches and golf clubs asking me for money. I say no, you can go somewhere else for your donation.
Golf club charity, yeah.
But his dinners go for a lot because people love Sam because he's a character and his wines are incredible. And just the fact that he has that whole history of movie making, directing. You're just the whole package. Thank you so much, Sam. So we have a few 4 minutes left.
Wait a second.
I want to know.
Does Sam have a big package?
It depends on how. It depends on how.
Do you have a full package?
I need another glass of wine.
It depends on how big you are.
Do you have a full package?
Oh, you're so funny. Are we
The
erasing
views
that?
of Paul Kassir don't necessarily represent the views of us here in the green room.
Yeah, I'm being disclaimed.
I think we might erase that.
I don't have small hands. Do I?
Colin.
It was funny. It was funny. It was funny.
Erase
It was
that.
funny.
I'm
Yeah,
only
it was
teasing.
funny. It was funny.
It was hilarious.
So, Sam, we have 4 minutes left. I want to know what is on your bucket list. I mean, you're so successful. You have
So accomplished.
What
yeah.
so
else do you wanna do?
accomplished. The movies, directing, the winemaking.
I really am pretty sure that this operation is going to take me till when I can't really function the way I am doing now anymore.
That
But-
will never happen.
but-
My
but-
grandma's
okay.
105.
Okay, but I will tell you something. Many years ago, when I was 15, my family went camping, and they took us up this remote
In an
peninsula
RV?
in New Zealand. No, my father made a homemade camping trailer himself
Oh,
behind,
wow,
behind the
cool.
station wagon.
Oh.
And we went up in this remote peninsula in New Zealand where gold was first discovered, and I found the most beautiful spot I've ever seen in my life. We're talking about 1961. So for many years, I would go and camp and hang around in that area. And about 25 years ago, I bought an old cottage on a beach in one of these bays. It's actually called Port Charles. It was named by Captain Cook.
Wow.
And there's no gas stations or stores there. There's just a few farms. And
Sounds beautiful.
it was a tear down, and my wife and I fixed it up. And I planted an orchard, and the water comes from a stream, and I've got my own boat. And every day when we're there, we just go out and get my food out of the ocean. My dream is to rebuild that to a total off-the-grid, solar-powered
Wow.
place.
Yeah, you can do it. Solar and wind, a little bit of wind just
Yep,
to supplement.
yep,
A little bit of
A
batteries.
little hideout. It
Yep.
sounds very remote.
And I know, probably I quite like to live there. And it's funny.
Where exactly is it?
It's in a place called Port Charles on the
Charles.
Coromandel Peninsula in New Zealand, and I can show you a picture of it.
Beautiful.
I mean, everything I've seen about New Zealand is just beautiful.
Oh,
you
can
can't
stand in
take
my
a bad
front-
picture
you
in New
can stand in my
Zealand.
front room, and you'll suddenly realize you've been standing there for 20 minutes with your jaw hanging
Yeah,
open. You know,
there's just no.
Everybody that I
There's
know
no
that's
bad
been all over the
pictures from
world,
New Zealand that
they're
I've
like
ever
the best
seen.
place in the world is New Zealand. Like literally.
It really is so I haven't been able to go there.
I have a
but
friend
it's
named
at the top of
Trammell,
my
and he
list.
says it's the prettiest place in the world.
I think it would be a great place to wind up. You know, at low tide you get clams, oysters, and greenlet mussels, and
I'm gonna put a
you
boat
have-
in there.
You have lobster pots out there that you go and get, and you can throw a line and get like 20 fish in 45 minutes. It's far from any industry at all, and I don't
it's
know.
clean water.
And
clean
there's
ocean.
totally. And there's one place, like if I drive 3 kilometers, there's an old abandoned wharf. And if I stand at the end of that wharf and hold my cell phone up in the air like that, I can catch a faint signal from the cell tower on Great Barrier Island, 14 miles away. So I do that every morning at 6 o'clock to make sure the world hasn't ended.
Yeah, yeah.
In closing,
And-
you have 1 minute. What would you want to
and-
say to the world?
Yeah, go ahead.
There we go.
Oh,
No pressure.
think about the meaning of the word authenticity and never tell a lie. Just do good stuff and don't rip anyone off and just tell the truth.
I love that. And go drink Pillsbury wines. Go to www.pillsbury.com.
I'm not perfect. I'm not here to
PillsburyWines.com.
advise anyone how to live. I don't know. I just do it.
Sam's amazing.
It's still fun to
Cheers.
share your wisdom on what made you this excellent, because
Well-
you've done some great things.
Well, so everything Sam has done, he's been successful at. So whenever you can talk to people like that, and if you can glean anything from it, maybe you'll follow in the same footsteps.
I agree.
Another thing to remember too is that all of the geniuses and all of the most successful people on this planet have had terrible disasters in their life. And
Amen.
You don't learn things from your successes. You learn them from your mistakes. So when something terrible happens to you, like happened with me with the Quiet Earth, I learned something. I learned you can't do everything. You know, just,
I love that wisdom. That's
well,
so true.
it's
You
good.
learn from your mistakes.
I mean, it's you learn. Suffering can kill you, but it can also make you stronger, like they say. And
If it doesn't kill you,
yeah, exactly.
you stronger.
And I think again, you know, you have a great success. You go, oh, I must be smart. I'm doing everything right. When you make a big mistake, you go, shit, I'll never do that again.
Well,
So
Sam
true.
Pillsbury,
Yes,
thank you so
you,
much for
Sam.
being here
Appreciate
and making
you.
my birthday incredible.
Oh,
Cheers.
so cool. I'm so
I
glad.
just
should we
so
sing Happy
grateful.
Birthday to
No,
finish off the
oh,
show?
Oh, here we go. Yes.
Great show. Saving the planet one,
One
show at a time.
So, Martin, I need your help here.
All right.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kinga. Happy birthday to you.
Cheers.
I'm pretty sure we owe some licensing thing, but
Well, to Mozart, but he's dead, so F him.
Do you know?